Welcome to What's Your Story, where we, Jaime Marco,
and Stan Brown,
delve into the extraordinary lives of everyday people.
Listen in as we uncover the unique tales that shape who we are,
one story at a time.
Hey, let's get ready to explore today's story.
Let's do it. You sound like, that sounds like hello, Jerry from Seinfeld. Like, was that Costanza that said that?
It was, hello, Newman.
Oh, that's what it was, Newman. So, what's your number today? Just curious.
I'm a pretty consistent 9.5.
Really? Retirement. It's amazing what it can do for your life.
It's funny, when retirement happens at the right time, it's outstanding. It shouldn't happen too soon, but too late, just right. It's called Goldilocks retirement.
Oh, I like that. Well, it's interesting you say that, like, at the right time, because how many people do you know, that they like work and work and work and then they retire and then like they die, like it's just they don't get they don't get a chance to enjoy their retirement.
That's really topic for a whole different discussion. In my working years, I work with a lot of retired people who retired, came down to Florida, and some didn't adjust very well at all. It's a major adjustment. It's how we view ourselves, our position in life, what we're doing. And there's a lot of room for discussion about that. We should have a session about that.
We should. I think we would totally like a jam session about it. Cause I think, like, listen, it took you a while to decide to retire as well too. And I'm sure there was like some psychological impact there of
no question,
losing a part of who you were for 50 years or something, however long you
Well, you spend the majority of your life working, getting up, going to work, coming back, having frustrations and stuff. It's your identification, no question.
That's crazy. Well, I am looking forward to today's conversation. So many of our conversations have stemmed from relationships that I have had in my life, whether that be someone I knew as a child or someone I met in life. And then obviously we'll be interviewing people who I've never met before, who someone else has submitted or that you've never met, or people that you know. Every story is a different story. And how we got connected to that person is kind of like the 6 degrees of separation with Kevin Bacon. Have you heard that theory before?
Yes, I have.
Listener,
at my age, I've heard most theories.
Listener, if you don't know, so there was like, I don't even know when it was created, but I guess maybe like back in the 80s or 90s, Kevin Bacon, the actor, was in so many movies with different actors that they used to say that you could connect him by 6 degrees. So if you were like, okay, Julia Roberts was in this movie, how can you connect Kevin Bacon as somebody in that? And that's easy because Julia Roberts and Kevin Bacon were in a movie together. So there you go, done, 1 degree. But the point is that like, that's what life's about, right? And that's what these stories are about, that the people that we're connecting with, inevitably, I'm sure if we go back 6 degrees, we can somehow connect them to our lives, which is super cool. And I love that. Today's guest is waiting in the waiting the guest room, or the green room, whatever you want to call it on Zoom.
We have a green room? Great.
Yeah. And
Is it catered? It's catered, yes.
Yeah, it's catered.
It's catered? Okay.
It is catered. I have known this individual since I was probably 7 years old. So 40 years, almost 40 years, which is crazy. We went to elementary school, middle school, and high school for a little bit. It's a little foggy for me when she moved. But we grew up in Florida, and then she moved to Indiana, and we lost a little touch. We've had some friends in common. And then I think like, when did Facebook start? Maybe like 98, 96, whatever it was. Or when Facebook first started, for those that don't know, Facebook was only for college students, and then it branched out to the rest of us. But through the beauty of Facebook, we were able to reconnect. And so we haven't had an actual conversation, I think, I don't even know, maybe she remembers, but I feel like we have, because I've watched her get married, have her children, go through some of life's challenges based on social media. And so it'll be interesting to see what she knows about me as well too, based on those connections, because that's really how we've stayed connected without having a conversation. Actually, I think if I like go into this will be interesting before we bring her on. I'm going to go into my Facebook Messenger. Let's see. Okay, so there we go. And I'm going to go back because it tracks every conversation you ever had with that person. It looks like the first conversation we had in Facebook Messenger was in 2013. And it's so funny. Wow. And just like the messages we have, it went from 2013 to 2014, then from 2014 to 2016, then 2016 to 2017, like jumping, like not even like monthly talks, just like yearly check-ins. It's so crazy. Like I'm just looking at this. And then 2017, we had a few conversations about some things that she was doing. And then it just jumped to this year, 2024. So 2017, the last time we connected on social media, until when I said, oh my gosh, I've been following your story on Facebook and I want to talk with you about it. So do you want to welcome her in? She'll know you because she had sleepovers at our house. Like you may not remember her, but I guarantee you she remembers you.
Well, why don't we find out?
All right, let's bring her on in.
Because I couldn't even find Messenger on my face because I don't even have a Facebook page.
Here she comes. So she'll be on mute first. So Stephanie, when you come in, you'll be on mute. I think she's there. Let's see.
Hello, Stephanie.
You're on mute. Let's see. We always like to give that like tech to come on in. It's so funny, like Zoom, how everything is done on Zoom now, and it's like such a cluster.
Can you guys hear me?
We can.
We hear you fine. Just can't see you.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Can you hear us? Oh. Let's see. Life's greatest adventures. Can you hear us? We can. Can you see us, hear us? What do we get of you today? Oh. Can't hear you yet. We'll get there, I'm sure. It might be the wrong microphone that on the bottom of your screen. We can't hear you. So hold on. She's messaging us here. Check out.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, there we go. I can hear you now.
If I can do it, anybody can do it.
Okay. I think we can hear you. We can hear you. Let's see.
You can hear me. I can't hear you at all, and I don't know why. Because I tested everything before. Okay. Everything was working fine. Let me just see my speakers really quick, because it should just be my computer.
We hear you can hear us, yes?
She can't hear us. I wonder if she can see us. Let's see. La 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 la.
Hello, Jaime.
Are we doing a sound check? Sound check, sound check, 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 check.
Okay, yay.
You hear us now?
Yes, and then I'm hitting start video and it won't start my video.
It's totally okay. Oh, there's like a weird echo. Oh, wait, can you hear that?
No.
Oh, okay.
Can
you still hear us, Stephanie?
Yeah.
All right. Hi.
Can you hear me? Hi. I want to see you. Well, I see you. I want you to be able to see me.
Same. Well, it was so funny. We were just doing kind of an intro and I was telling my dad, I'm like, Dad, like, no offense, don't get offended, Stephanie. He doesn't even remember someone he met like last year. But I'm like, Stephanie will definitely know who you are. You may not remember her, but she like would be at our house. We grew up together. And then I was saying to the listeners, I was trying to remember the last time we actually had a conversation. And I couldn't remember. I don't know.
I feel like I was thinking about that too. I'm just still trying to work with my camera because
you're all good.
So before I came into the meeting, I could see myself.
Huh.
What and it says it just said, I mean, it really should just be my computer camera. I don't have like another.
Do you have something else open that may be taking up the camera?
Maybe. Let me see. I'm just going to close everything else out that I have open.
You're good. Oh, that was us.
See, I'm not as bad as you thought I was.
Now, you know, it is like the tech. It's like what they say about children, right? Children and pets, that you can plan all you want. And then what's the saying?
I've never heard that saying.
There's like a saying that like children and pets or whatever, you can try to plan for something, but they're never dependable. There's like, what's the saying?
You should be more prepared.
Let's see. What's the saying about children and pets? Let's see.
Don't ever go on stage with them or something.
It says, oh, here we go. Kids and animals. Never work with animals or children is often used, but often a misunderstood quote. Oh, okay. But why? Like, it just, maybe that's what the quote is.
They're unpredictable,
Yeah, I guess that's what it is.
unmanageable. Kids of all ages.
Yeah. Well, it's like, like your pet would do something and then you expect them to do it again and then they don't do it. You're like, what? Why would you not do it again? So anyway.
How about I start over?
Hopefully she's coming back on in. But do you remember my friends growing up? Like any of my friends that would stay at the house?
When you see those feet, when you see amorphous bodies with amorphous faces, that's what I see. I see just things, people milling around, and I guess I was there, but I don't remember.
Do you have any childhood friends that you remember their name?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, how far back in childhood are you going?
As far back, who do you remember?
Yeah, I remember a few. Yeah.
Do you want to name a name, or do you not want to?
Not really. No.
You want to give them some like anonymity?
Oh, yes.
Yay!
You look fabulous. Hello.
Okay, wait, but you're muted, so unmute yourself. Oh my gosh, amazing.
Okay.
Wait.
Okay, I really
We're there. Terrific.
I use Zoom, I use Teams, I use all the things. And for whatever reason, every once in a while my camera craps out or like whatever. So yes, I so remember you. And I'm like gonna say like Mr. Brown.
That's what most people call me. No, it's Stanley, please.
Okay. Well, do you not remember us dancing to Walk Like an Egyptian on your fireplace?
That I do remember.
I just said to him, I said, Dad, like, do you, because like my mom remembers everyone. Like she like, remember like probably what she gave us for breakfast that morning.
Yeah.
And I was like, Dad, do you remember like how far back of my friends do you remember? Do you remember names? And he's playing the game. Oh yeah, I remember. I'm like, well, name one. He couldn't.
Stephanie.
Like,
There you go.
There you go.
You know what, Dad? Stephanie was part of it. Like when we first started, like Ginny Hong. Do you remember that name, Dad?
Oh yeah, sure. The karate
Yeah,
guy,
like where is she today? Do you know where she is today?
No, and I've like tried to find her, and I can't.
Maybe if
So-
she's listening. Ginny Hong, if you're listening, you were in our lives. We'd love to know like where you are.
I know. I would so love to.
So
Okay.
cool. But it's
no Facebook page?
no, I've tried to Google her as well too.
No LinkedIn?
No, and I've tried to find Jimmy, her brother, because I thought, well, if I can find her brother, maybe I can find her.
Oh, yeah.
But Jamie, I was thinking about the last time I probably saw you was Stacy's wedding.
Oh my gosh. Oh
And
yeah.
that was like how many years ago? Like
2008 maybe?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I had just had Zeke. Unless you were at Heather's wedding.
No. Wait, is your son almost 20 years old?
No.
Oh,
so no, I'm putting too many years ahead of
I was like
20 years ago. Okay.
yeah. How long is he?
I'm doing wrong math. I'm doing girl math.
Yeah.
But it feels like that
math.
long. He's 15. My oldest is 15 and driving me like places with his permit, and it's crazy.
Are you still in Florida?
No.
I am not. I live in Indiana.
Oh.
Did you move after high school or in the middle of high school? I can't remember.
So I transferred here my junior year of college.
Okay.
And then when we were first married, we moved back to Orlando because my sister was there. It was kind of like Sarasota or Orlando. And there were just more like job opportunities and stuff in Orlando too. So we ended up back in Orlando for 9 years. And I just really missed the Midwest. Like I went to college here. I grew up my whole life visiting my dad here. And I love it. Like I love the people. It's been really good. I mean, winter can get really cold and like gray, but kind of like there, summer's so hot and you're like, either in water or inside.
Right. Well, I was trying to remember. So what grade did we meet in? And I think it was like, was it first grade? Were you at Golf Gate at first grade? Golf Gate
I was at
Tigers.
Well, yes, I know. Were you there all K through 5?
I wasn't there in kindergarten. I started there this is really odd. And I don't know if you can do the same as well, or Dad, if you can, but I pretty much remember every teacher's name that I've ever had. So I had Mrs. Truby and Mrs. Clark in first grade.
Okay.
And then I had Mackenzie and Spicer in second grade. Were you in that class?
Yeah, I think we were in that class
Remember?
together.
Well, do you
Yes.
remember the Challenger going outside and watching it explode?
Yes. Yes.
Like
Yes.
this
And
is
then we
like
just went back into class and like went back to working. Yeah, I totally remember that.
it's
I
so
Well, I went to Philippi Shores for kindergarten first because we lived on the Key.
okay, got it.
And then once we moved away from the Key, I went to Gulfgate.
Yeah.
And then, but I had been on a waiting list for a long time for Bayhaven. And so it opened up when I was in 4th grade, and my mom's like, well, this just happened. Do you want to stay at Gulfgate? And I'm like, I'm just adventurous and like, I don't know. I wasn't like super attached. I was like, sure, why not? So that's how I met like Stacy and Heather and all of them.
Oh, I didn't
Was
realize
at
that.
Bayhaven in 4th
And
grade.
then moved to Brookside from there.
Yes. Yes.
So funny. Well, wow. I mean, it's just so cool. Like I was telling my dad earlier, the whole like 6 degrees of separation with Kevin
Yes.
Bacon. Like that's
Yes.
like life. And I looked back on our Facebook Messenger and I like saw before I reached out to you about this, it was like 2017 that we'd last had a conversation on Messenger about young like oils, about the oils, about the
Yes, yes, yes. Yes. Oh my
um,
gosh, it's so crazy.
so what are you
I
like,
love being connected.
well, what are you doing now? Like, catch me up. Like, catch my dad up.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
give us a picture of the life of Stephanie Rex now.
Okay. So now, since we moved to Indiana, and I know we're gonna get more into like depth of my story, kind of like whatever you want to talk about, really. I'm very much an open book, and I believe story is so powerful. But I live in Fort Wayne, Indiana right now, and I do marketing and sales for a small weighted blanket company that Jockey International bought.
Wow.
So I'm employed by Jockey International, like underwear and socks and stuff. So they bought this little company, and we're like a small but mighty team. Our manufacturing's here in the USA, and they're actually like right across the way from me. And so I handle all like their sales and marketing, and it's been really, really cool. I was doing catering before this, and I have found my sweet spot now. So
Did you say
yeah.
weighted blankets?
Yes, weighted
Like
blanket.
for humans or pets or a combination of both?
You could get it for your pets. We also have weighted wearables like vests. So picture like kids with special needs who need that sensory input like all the time. They can find a vest, they can find a cape. There's scarves to help like relieve tension in your neck and shoulders and things like that. And it's really aligned with like neuroscience and understanding the polyvagal theory and how your body accepts deep touch pressure and how that helps calm your brain down. And so
Easing anxiety, all that kind of stuff. Sure.
yeah. So it's just kind of right up my alley. And then I've always loved sales and people. And so it kind of puts the two together.
So, I actually didn't even think about that as an option. So my daughter, when she goes to sleep, like she's always like, Mommy,
Yeah.
I need your hand. Like she needs to feel me there. I wonder if that would be a good, now I'm like,
Yeah.
she needs
Well,
that.
and it's interesting. Yeah. And it's interesting because when kind of like the craze happened, I don't know, it was like 2017, 2018, weighted blankets really became a thing. And I was just going to go to Target or Amazon and get like a cheap weighted blanket. And then I met the lady who actually started this company, and she explained to me the difference and like the neuroscience behind it and how your touch receptors need like touch points every 2 inches. So the R squares are like 2 inches apart, and we use a bigger glass bead than most companies. So it doesn't like sandbag and sink and be too heavy. And so, yeah, it's a really good option for all ages. And especially, that there's something about deep touch pressure, if you like study it a little bit, how it just really does calm down the nervous system. I mean, it's not a fix all, but
Right.
it's comforting.
But they would wrap babies for years for the same things, give them a sense of
Yeah.
comfort. The world is so open, it just creates so much anxiety for people.
Like
Yes.
swaddle a baby, like to get them all tight and in there. I remember learning how to swaddle. I was like, the tighter the better.
I know, me too. And when I see like a brand new baby not swaddled, I'm like, why isn't that baby swaddled?
Cruel, it's child cruelty.
Yes.
Now, did you go to school for marketing?
Okay, so full disclosure, when I went to college, I was like, I'm here to socialize. Like, I had no clue what I wanted to do. I did telecommunications, and there was a branch in there with like some business slash marketing. I've always loved marketing, but I've always seen myself in sales too, because I love people. And if I believe in something, I have no problem like sharing the goodness about it. And so it all just has kind of fallen into place. I think, I've kind of learned marketing on the way, and, there's so many resources on the internet. You can learn so much.
Yeah.
So, and then just having an amazing team around me, I've grown a lot. So yeah.
Well, and you were part of that like essential oils craze that is still going. Are you
Yeah.
still doing that?
Well, so I still have a team because I still have people on my team who build.
Okay.
So I don't really do much with it as far as like, I'm not trying to grow my business. I'm not trying to, if anyone were to ask me like, hey, what do you think about this? I'd totally be happy to answer. But once I went full time working, like that just all was like, okay, that part of my life was so sweet and so fun. And it was a fun way to connect with people. But I kind of just needed to make, there's only so much time in a day. So, but I still use them. I still order them every month.
I mean, I think that people give people such a hard time about like the MLM different things that are out there, like the
Yeah.
like that is like truly like the ultimate sales job because you have to build in both directions. You've got to build a
Yeah.
team, you have to be able to trust you got to believe in your product, you have to be able to
Yeah.
communicate clearly on that. Dad, have you ever have you ever used any of the essential oils? I don't know if you have.
A couple of MLMs that not I've used oils in the past.
Yeah.
Actually, we sold aroma pods for years, which was
Yeah.
Yeah. My dad always had like those passion projects or like what they call
I
now.
love it. Well, people don't understand that, like, so one of my really good friends is she's really high up in the company and she worked her rear off to get there. It's like it's never a get rich quick scheme. It's never like if that exists, then that's probably not a great company. But like if you want to be successful in MLM, you have to work super hard those first like 4 or 5 years to really like get that paycheck that's going to last you a long time. So I've been in awe of people who've done it and really like taken off. I'm just like, wow, they've worked really hard. And yeah, so I think it's a neat profession, especially like sometimes moms who want to be at home with their kids, but also want to make an income and those kinds of things.
I think it's so funny. Like now, if you're on Instagram on the reels, these people that are like, I'm making this so much. Like it's a different type of affiliate marketing, right? Like, that's really what it was. Like it's kind of like yourself like that, and it's totally since COVID for sure.
Yes,
totally transformed the landscape of those businesses, and there's just so many things out there. I mean, there's the clothing, there's just the Amazon review. I mean, it's great. It's an incredible giving people an incredible opportunity to make a living. Not just doing the regular, 9 to 5 or whatever the job is. So.
Yes. Yeah. It's amazing. And I don't think people understand, like for content creators, like some people roll their eyes and they're like, oh, influencers, but they work really hard too. That, the editing that goes into all that and just creating the content. Like, I admire people who have that much creative juice flowing all the time.
100%. My husband was like, let's do that. I'm like, let's not. Like, when you say let's do that, you mean you do it.
Yes.
I would be like this the whole time. I'm like, and I don't want to be like that the whole time. Like I don't want to be, I want to have that freedom.
Yes.
Well, and like you're doing this and also raising 3 children at the same time. So you're like running this, or you're running the marketing and sales for this weighted blanket and raising, your oldest is 15. And how old is your youngest?
11. And so I have boy, girl, boy. So my oldest is 15, my daughter is 13, and my son is 11. So they're going into 6th, 8th, and 10th grade.
Wow.
So yeah, like how do weren't we just in high school? Like, I don't know how I have a high schooler.
I know, that's insane, first of all. And it's so funny because like your kids are not that too far from mine, but then we have some friends whose kids are like in their 20s getting married, and or I think we're at a really interesting age. Dad, was it like that for you as well too when you were in your 40s, that you had like were people having kids later in life, so it was kind of a drastic difference in the age of children of your friends?
Yeah, everyone really got married a lot. We got married like we're 20, 21 and had kids within about 2 years. So really it was a totally different dynamic then. Things have changed. The whole norms have changed dramatically, which affects everybody in the whole buildup of society.
Yeah.
Has that been a weird transition for you to see, Stan? Like just how much culture has changed that way as far as like getting married young and having kids young? And
I wish I could say it changed for the better. I think there's just been more confusion out there. I think there's more of a need for your weighted blankets now for the anxiety levels.
It's like, yes, there is.
Well, when there's more pressure on the family vis-a-vis the parents, that's a trickle down to the kids.
It is. It is.
You work so hard to get where you are. You put so many hours in. But we were commission only for 45 years. In commission only, you're only as good as your next paycheck, and
Exactly.
you have to come to terms with that. When it's good, it's good. When it's not good, it's not that good. And
Yeah.
the kids never know when you're stressed, unless you really, it really gets crazy.
Yeah.
But
I
I think
knew.
you knew.
I knew. I will tell you. So like my dad from like, I don't even know age you started this, but there's 3 girls in my family, as you know, Stephanie.
Yes. Yes.
Not so much Melissa, but you know, whatever. And so every year my dad would get us something for Valentine's Day. And we knew how well he was doing at work based on the gift. Like, so some years
Okay.
it was like a book, some years it was stuffed animal, some years it might be jewelry. Some years it was like, I love you.
Oh, so the quality of the gift determined the level of my affection.
They were all quality. They were all quality, Dad. We just knew where it was. But anyway.
Well, that's what I say too, that I love that you guys are doing this together. Like, oh, my dad is no longer here. Like he passed away like almost 11 years ago. And so, but I had the same relationship with him that you have with your dad. And so it's so, so fun. Like my dad would have totally done something like this with me. It's just neat to watch you guys do it together.
Thank you.
Here in spirit.
Yeah.
And then you
Yes.
actually, lucky enough, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you also have a really good relationship with your stepfather as well too?
I did. And he passed away like about a year and a half after my dad. So
Yeah.
they both passed from cancer. My dad was a smoker until he was like 35 probably. So he ended up having lung cancer. And then my stepdad had a lot of health issues with like his kidneys and diabetes because of probably Agent Orange over in he served in Vietnam. And so he ended up getting a kidney transplant, which my sister, who like they're not blood related, she was a perfect match for him. She
Wow,
gave him
that's true.
her kidney. Yeah, she gave him her kidney and his body accepted it. It was actually the anti-rejection meds
Sure.
that caused liver cancer, which they have seen that before. And they're like, oh, this is like a curable cancer, but it metastasized to his brain. And so, yeah, we lost him like a year and a half after my dad. So there were a few really rough years. And that was like all during having babies and like hormonal changes. And, so yeah, I mean, we've been through a lot. And I feel like definitely more healed and stronger from the things we've been through. You have a couple choices in life to either go inward and deal with grief and deal with loss, or numb out and shut it out and kind of then end up with different problems. So yeah.
Well, it's interesting. So you lost a parent. I'm just thinking about the math, like in your 30s, you lost your dad in your 30s.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we don't have to get in as much as you want, but I know you're
Yeah.
your kids now have lost their father and having to deal with and they're much younger. Tell us about what you're doing, because I know you're really trying, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like you're really trying to do some outreach to help others who have been down a path like you, and to find, like you said, that like looking outwards and stuff. So tell us a little about like what your passion right now is as well too.
Yes.
Obviously the weighted blankets.
Yeah. So my dream my whole life, I don't know, since I can remember, I started babysitting at 12, was to be a mom. Like I just couldn't wait to one day be a mom. I thankfully got to stay at home with them until I think my youngest was in first grade, second grade. And so they are my passion project. Like they are my why. They are in a really healthy way. I think we still have to kind of maintain our own autonomy and grow separately from them and show them like, we don't stop everything for you. But so we got married in 2007. And when I met my husband, it was funny because neither of us really drank that much. So I just didn't really, there was no red flags. There was no, anything like that. And he just had trauma from his past. And I think looking back, I am now understanding it just was a lot of unhealed trauma, a lot of undealt with pain. And so you kind of fast forward through, those early years of marriage where it's like we had our babies back to back, like every 2 years.
It's kind of stressful.
That alone, right? Like that's a lot of change alone. And then you throw in work, and he was a really successful wealth management guy, like for a big bank. And there was a lot of pressure there. And he cared so much about people. Like he did really well in his job because of how he cared for people. It wasn't because he was trying to work his way to the top. So he he just had a lot of undealt with trauma. His mom passed when he was 17, and I just don't think he ever really processed it. And so I think men, especially in our culture, are really good at, and thankfully, I think it's changing a lot right now too, but they're really good at compartmentalizing.
Sure.
And he really did. He was like, I've got to be number one for my wife, for my kids. Like, I'm going to go hard. And he just kind of was always going hard for everybody but himself. And so I would say about halfway through our marriage, like I noticed his drinking intake increase to where I kind of thought it was becoming problematic. And so we went through a couple years of that, kind of like trying to figure out, and since I don't drink very much, like, am I blowing this out of proportion? Those kinds of things. So long story short, he ended up becoming a functional alcoholic to the point of unfunctioning.
Mm.
And that's ultimately what he passed away from. We ended up getting divorced because at some point you really have to choose your
Sure.
own mental health and your kids' mental health. And as painful as a decision that was, because, you know, when you know somebody before they kind of enter into that arena, I'm like, I know who you are. Like, you can do anything, you could beat this. But unfortunately for him, and I think addiction's a really, really hard and complicated thing to like understand, right? Like I always say, if we could understand it, or if we could explain it in a way that was solvable, we'd be millionaires, right? Because we'd be helping so many people get well and not struggle with addiction. But more my passion is sharing our story is um a lot of times when you think about addiction or divorce or whatever, like even in faith context too, there's so many taboos around it all and kind of like what stigma goes around the type of people who struggle with addiction. And I share my story because I don't know, like we grew up in Sarasota, we went to college, we got jobs, like you think you're going to get married and stay married. No one ever, I don't care who you are, no one ever gets married to end up getting divorced. Like you never walk into it thinking that will happen to you. And especially addiction kind of blindsiding me in the process. And I just kind of want people to know that can happen to anybody. It doesn't matter like your race, your age, your wealth status, like it really can happen to anyone. And I really do believe it comes from like unhealed trauma and unhealthy coping mechanisms and kind of never being taught how to regulate your emotions. And so yeah, that I just want other people to know who are going through my story that healing is possible because we are healing. We are coming out on the other side of this. I feel like I know myself more. I feel more well-grounded in who I am as a person and what I believe and the things that I believe are really important. And so that's why I share my story. I don't ever share my story to say, "Oh, poor me, like so sad, everything we went through," because I don't feel sad for myself. I really don't. I feel sad at times for sure for everything we've been through. And are there days where I can have a pity party for sure? Like I'm human. But at the same time, like I share my story because I really think like you guys, stories so powerful. And when we hide our stories or when we hide the hard parts of our stories, um, it really creates this facade that like, oh wow, they're okay and they're okay. Why am I not okay? And so when we share those hard parts of our stories, I really think we give people permission to do the same. And our stories don't even have to be the same. You don't have to have gone through addiction or divorce or death or whatever to know like, okay, like if I were to speak this out loud, I might find help for myself
No
and
question.
help other people. So yeah, that was a long answer. So I don't know. Whatever questions you have from that, I'm fine to answer whatever.
Was he open to, finding the right help is critical, and sometimes it's a
Critical.
search of not going to the people that are not the right person. Do you have
Yeah.
any no luck in finding someone that could help you, therapy or guidance or whatever?
Yeah, for him, I think so. What I really believe about him personally, I can't speak on like behalf of other people who get kind of like don't come out of addiction, as you would say. Um, I think it's like the frog in the pot, right? You throw a frog into a boiling pot, it's going to jump right out. But I also think you can ignore your problems and you can tamper down. Like, I don't have a drinking problem. And you're kind of like that frog in the pot that's like coming to a slow boil. You don't even
Mhm.
realize it's coming to a boil. I really think that was him. And I kind of think when he hit to the place where he wasn't a functioning alcoholic anymore, there was so much brain damage done. I'm not saying there was no turning back, but obviously he passed away of
Sure.
liver failure. So for him, there was no turning back. And I really think right before my eyes, he became a completely different person. So the sadness and all of that is a lot of times the addict thinks that they can do it on their own. They believe such a shame story. They're so afraid of what other people think of them and the harm that they have caused, because they've caused a lot of hurt to the people around them. And so I think they're like, well, I can stop this on my own. And like you said, the right help is critical. But I think what's even more critical is understanding you can't make that person get the help. Like, I think that's where, like, I fought for my marriage and I fought for him to get that help for so long. And that's when I finally had to draw my own boundaries and say, I can't make
Enough.
him do this. I can't make him choose healing and recovery. I know he tried. There were rehab attempts. He went through some counseling. He did different things like that. But I think unless you're fully 100% committed to what I call recovery rather than sober living, it's really hard to maintain sober living if you're not in recovery. So where you have a community around you who understands your struggles and understands what you're going through. And that was just really hard for him to do for whatever reason. So yeah.
Oh, this body we get doesn't come with a user manual. It's tough. It's trial and error. It's hard.
Exactly.
And having kids from a male perspective, when you're first married, you're very important to each other. When
Yes.
children come into the picture, the male ego is rather fragile. We're not getting as much attention for us.
Yes.
It's being directed towards the child itself. So I hate to use the word stress, but it increases the stress level itself, which exacerbates any addiction you might have.
Yes.
It's epidemic proportions. We have to talk about it more. We have to seek more help out. And there is help, but there are ways of coming back. But right now, it's bleak.
Well, and I truly, truly believe that, like, I'm not a one person who stands on like one methodology only. I'm not like AA till the day you die. I'm like, find something that works for you. There's so many things out there. And I say that for me as somebody who lived with an alcoholic. I may not go to Al-Anon, but I've done other things to help people who've had loved ones with addiction. And I find my support and I find my groups and I do different kinds of therapy, whether it's talk or EMDR therapy. And now I'm looking into somatic therapy, like, the emotions stored in your body. So you just have to be steady with it. And I think, like you said, the epidemic, and I think some of that can be conquered by talking about it, right? Like
No
the more we
question.
bring this to light and say, we all struggle. Like we all have our own issues. We all have these things we deal with. And if we keep hiding them, it's just that makes you stay stuck even longer.
Or you can push them down deep for just so long, and it won't stay there.
Yeah, it won't.
Well, I think what you said earlier, you said about, like the life that we're seeing online. I think we have so many things hitting us from so many different directions today, right? Like you don't want to share like the worst parts of your life, because if you look on, I like to call it, and I know that we're probably going to be canceled because I'm calling it this, fake book, right? It like, fully, like I have friends who literally, I know, like are bashing their husband, talking about how they can't stand their husband, like this and that, whatever. And then they'll go on Facebook and be like, oh my gosh, I love my husband so much. He's so amazing. So love. I'm like, you were literally just at my house telling me how much you can't stand him. And that is the problem, is that like we don't realize that we all have these parts of our lives that are not the most glamorous, not the greatest, because we're only sharing the best parts.
Yeah.
I really feel like that does impact our mental health as well too, or like that whole keeping up with the Joneses piece of it. And I'm trying to find, so I did a talk not too long ago, and it was about like the percentage of people that are depressed. I was trying to find my notes here because I don't memorize it per se. But like what percentage of people are suffering from depression right now in the US? And then like worldwide, I was trying to find the numbers here. I should have brought this up beforehand.
Well, you remember that Xanax thing about the blood transfusions that they discovered in the country itself? What 75% have anti-anxiety drugs in the blood?
Wow.
You can look walk down the street, look at people's faces. You may want to smile at someone. You're not always going to get a smile back at you.
No, yeah, for sure. And I think it's also learning to like then be curious about people rather than like, oh, they didn't smile. Like, I don't know. I could have been like that when I'm younger. Like, oh,
Oh,
I just
absolutely,
smiled at
sure.
that person and they're not very friendly. But usually now what I tell my kids is I'm like, when so and so treats you in that certain way, do you know what's happening in their lives at home? Do you know, like, usually there's something deeper. They're not just, mean for no reason. Like something's happening. And whether it's small or big or whatever, it's just like learning how to treat people with curiosity versus judgment is that's been a huge learning process for me. Huge. So
I wish I was wearing my
Well,
shirt today. I have a t-shirt that says it's from Ted Lasso, be curious, not judgmental.
I
And
love
like
that.
it's so I don't know if you watched that. Did you watch the show Ted Lasso?
Oh my gosh, yes.
When
I'm
he's
like,
playing
I
the
want to
dart.
marry Ted Lasso.
That's what he says. Like when he does the darts, he's talking about it. And he's like, be curious, not judgmental. And I got the shirt from my friends at the Rays and Rowdies. They gave it to me. It was like they did an HR thing and they gave me the shirt. And I wear it all the time. And it's just so true because that is the thing is that everybody is in their own paradigm, right? Like the book Seven
Yes.
Habits, it's like one of the hardest reads you'll read. But in the book Seven Habits of Highly Effective People,
Yes.
Stephen Covey, they talk about how everyone's in their own paradigm. And there's this great story about how this man gets on the train with his kids who are like probably, like younger age. I forget the whole story. And they're running around like lunatics. And this little old lady's looking at him. She's like, how are you not disciplining your children? Like, what is wrong with you? And they had just left their mother's funeral. So
Yeah.
like it's just like, like you don't know what other people are going through. And that is
You
the
don't.
thing, is that we're
You
so
don't.
quick to judge. And
Yeah.
that's what I love. Like, even when you started, like, I found out obviously on Facebook, this is where I found out because we haven't spoken
Yeah.
before. But I loved how you were just like, you like bared your soul. Like, you came out and you've done that continuously, like in your stories or whatever you're doing and talking about, hey, this is how I'm being impacted. And I think that's really inspirational and really brave. And I think it's also just awesome that you're first of all, you're not alone because I'm sure you're meeting other
Yeah.
people in the groups that
Yeah.
you're in, but just helping
Yes.
people like, listen, there is no stigma. Like, we're all facing different challenges.
Yeah.
Stephanie,
I
who helped you in your struggle? Who came into
um
your life?
gosh, so many people. I will say my dad had always been a huge, huge help to me and my mom just learning how to be myself, right? Like my parents really did a good job of like, and then so I could always kind of tell when I'm not feeling myself. And so but I am a verbal processor. Obviously, I talk a lot. So verbal processing is huge for me. So I fell in love with counseling because it didn't scare me to go. It actually would feel better to get it all off my chest. So I do have to kind of approach my kids differently in their journeys with their process because um they're more internal processors, especially my younger two. So like I don't try to force them to be where I am or expect them to process the same way I do. But I would say like within therapy, within my faith community, within just neighbors on my street, like my neighbor across the street, this is like the coolest story. We moved into that house as a married couple like in 2017 and our divorce, we separated in 2019. And the lady across the street had gone through something very similar to me. But it wasn't with addiction. Her husband was struggled with mental health and it just got to the point where they couldn't stay married anymore. And she ended up having to move him out and right across the street from me. Like she's facing a lot of the same challenges I was. And it's just that. It's like simple as getting to know your neighbors
Sure.
sometimes and finding out like, wow, this world is a lot smaller than I realized. But and Jamie, I just wanted to touch on too, like thank you for saying that because I think there's this weird in between on Facebook, right? Or social media. Um, when you share your story of not wanting to sound like poor, pitiful me
Mhm.
or, oh, woe is me. My life sucks. I want everyone to know. I want everyone to like, say something or, right, like you said, the fake, like, we're amazing. We're perfect. We're so great. And you're not doing great. So I have really tried to hone my writing skills. I'm not saying they're great, but to hone it in a way that sounds very relatable and very real without being like, because I sometimes write certain things and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I don't want people feeling sorry for me. I don't feel sorry for me, or I don't want people worried that I'm not doing okay financially. Like we're doing okay. Like,
Yeah.
so it's just an interesting, so that's why I just share bits and pieces along the way. And I feel like prompted to write a book because I'm like, If
Should.
I had a book to read, like when I was going through this, it would have been so helpful to hear it. Like how many people are like, because I'm always like, I think I'm an ex-widow slash, like, what do I call it? Because I feel like I was widowed way before my divorce happened. But like it's just, yeah. So like you said, life doesn't come with a manual, and people sharing their stories really, really helps.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like, it's so funny. So first of all, when you are ready to write a book, I have the perfect person to connect you with. She is
Awesome.
and will help guide you down that path. So remind me to connect you with her. She's incredible.
Yes, I will. Cause I started.
Oh yeah. So she amazing human. So I will connect you with her. Fantastic.
Awesome.
The funny thing about Facebook is that so I, on Father's Day, okay, it was Father's Day. And people post all different things, right? Like they post about their husband. I only post about my dad. Like I don't post a lot about my family on social media. I'm not a big, it's just, first of all, I just don't have, I just don't think about it, but I used to maybe do more. I just don't anymore. But I didn't post anything about my husband. I just posted about my dad. I was like, my dad is whatever. I didn't even think about it. Like I was with my husband on vacation. I love my husband, whatever.
He was upset, huh?
Literally texted me and was like, is everything okay with you guys? And I'm like,
a friend texted you and asked?
yes. Well, not like a friend, but like an acquaintance who apparently is watching my Facebook page and was like, is everything okay with you guys? And I was like, why? What do you know? Like, what's going on? Like, I don't know. I think it's everything. Like, I was like, what are you talking about? Well, you didn't post anything about him for Father's Day. He's not my father.
Right.
But it's just like people read too much into it. Like they really do, because they're so consumed by stories, right? So like our goal for this was to tell the real stories of people, like not just the the Facebook what you read and this and that. So I think with you, what's so cool is that it's authentic, because it's not like you're just doing, oh, woe is me, like you're getting on video and you're sharing stuff that you're doing. And so I think that we get to see more of your story, which makes it because the written word, no matter how you write it, Stephanie, it's going to be misinterpreted, right?
Yes.
What you write. But I think the fact that you couple that with video and just people get to feel your energy, that makes a big difference as well too. So,
thank you.
I mean, can you imagine though? You're welcome. I can't imagine growing up with what our kids are growing up with today. I mean, we used to pass notes. I'm guilty of writing some, whatever notes we write stuff that's traumatized me for life. But we were that's how we were I'm gonna write you a note. Are you my friend or not? Or if you don't like this person, just stupid things that we did as kids. But then it was erased, and it's only remembered in our memories, right?
Right. It's in the trash can. It's gone. It's burned. It's whatever.
Right. But the kids today, they don't have that option. It's saved forever.
No, I don't know how. Do you have more than one?
Just one.
Your daughter, right? How old is she?
She'll be 9 soon. She's 9 going on 16.
Oh, of course. Jamie probably wasn't like that though, right, Stan? 9 going
Jamie
on 16.
Wasn't? Another show coming up.
This is your opportunity on the public forum to say that I'm your favorite.
Oh my gosh. Oh yeah. I'm my dad's favorite. I know it. So.
Jamie's my favorite.
Forever.
Was that really important?
Yes.
Now she has
to document it on video. This video is going straight to her sisters when you're done recording.
100%. This is going to be the spotlight video.
She would never be that superficial.
No.
Oh my God. Well, my dad, it was really funny. A gift he gave us before he passed, because he was in hospice. And my little sister got married actually the week before he passed away. And so we were all together for that. So he bought us each an iPad. But he was like, I'm going to hold on to it until I pass away. And I'm going to put videos on it, until I can't put videos on it anymore. We each have a video on our iPad. When you open it, that says, mine's hey, Steph, I just wanted you to know you're my favorite. And he did that on each of our iPads. And I'm like, that's iconic.
Great idea.
That's amazing. Yeah. What a brilliant, that's incredible.
Yes.
What a great gift that you have.
Yeah, it was really cool. He's a riot, but I love it. I love you guys that you're doing this. It's so cool.
Well, I'm so grateful that you were able to join us and talk about your story and share that. I just encourage you to keep doing that, because I can't tell you, we've recorded a few different podcasts, all different stories. And the message there is the same, is that like, listen, the more people hear like just real people's stories, the less
Yes.
alone that we feel, right? The
Yeah.
less, I think that's what, if COVID didn't magnify anything, it magnified the fact that so many people feel alone in their own world. And then
Yeah.
that just like came out even more. And
Yes.
so it's just great to be able to share that and talk through it. And I love it. I think it's awesome that you have found the help that you need, and you're
Yes.
just navigating that. You're helping your 3 kids find what they
Yes.
need as well too, which just raising kids in general is hard. So
It is.
I
It
mean,
is. I will tell you though, I promise you the teenage years aren't bad. I like it's just been so fun as they've gotten older. I mean, doesn't mean they're not hard. Like every stage is hard and has its hard moments. But like now, like my daughter and I just like last summer finished binging Gilmore Girls. And it was like so fun to share that with her. And then like my oldest is driving me places and he's like so excited to get in the car and be like, Mom, can I drive? I'm like, yes. And it's just like we have just and Stan, you know this from watching your daughters grow up. It's like it's just neat to watch all of the
Oh,
phases
sure.
and watch what they enjoy and like they enjoy things like I never enjoyed. And so that's so fun for me because I'm like I'm getting to learn about these new things that they're doing that like I could have cared less about at their age, but they're
yeah,
enjoying it. So, yeah. But I really am like please I told all 3 of them because I heard this challenge once where a parent offered to like give their child when they were 18 $1,800 if they stayed off of social media until they were 18, like Facebook, Instagram,
yeah.
I
Snapchat.
don't know, yeah, Snapchat, whatever. And because I know like for me it's like Zeke really didn't ask for Snapchat till the end of his freshman year, and I'm like, what am I going to keep him off of it forever? Like there is this time and place where you're like they have to figure out how to navigate this stuff before they're
Yeah.
out of my house. And so if we can do it together. So he obviously declined the money. But
As well as enough.
yeah, my daughter's debating it heavily, heavily. But it is funny because she is a ballerina and she was like, Mom, can I create a TikTok account? Like that she wanted it to not be private. And I'm like, you cannot show your face. Like you cannot show your face. So I thought she would show like she likes showing like her shopping hauls or like whatever. Well, she shows her feet dancing, like not her bare feet, but like in point shoes or whatever,
Right.
and like her ballet shoes. And like some of them have gone like wildly viral. And I'm like, I don't get it. Like it's not even very aesthetic. It's like a 13-year-old did it. But so like it's these interesting things you have to navigate, right? Like, and I'm like, your DMs have to be off. Like nobody can message you. You can't be. And so I'm like checking all the time. So it's like a lot of work on the parent side. Like when you open up those gates of like, but gosh, I am glad we didn't have it because I would have said some really dumb stuff.
Oh my
And
gosh. It was like, yeah, like I can just like, now that we're even having conversations, I'm like, I can think of things that just like, oh my gosh, just things that
yeah,
were captured on like you just, yeah, I feel for our kids today.
yeah,
And that's the thing, is that they see that it's like so cool to have these like YouTube channels or these TikTok things, and they
yeah,
want to create that content. And then we're also, indoctrinating them that, oh, you can be a billionaire by doing a TikTok.
right,
And
right,
that takes like, I think it's like what 0.02% of the people make it,
yes,
right?
yes,
And you've got
yeah,
that girl Miranda, whatever her name, I think her name, whatever, that's like all now controversial. And then it's like, it's just too much. It's
yes. No, it's so messy. And I've told her, I'm like, she's so creative. I'm like, I'm fine if you're just being creative with it. Like,
yeah.
other than that, like it's not, and she doesn't, thankfully, even though she's gotten a few that have gone like kind of viral, I'm like, because I'm just always checking the temperature of what's going on in her heart. And I'm like, does that make you want to create more so you can get more viral videos? And she's like, no, I could care less. And the next one she posted was like, I don't know, like a silly picture that hardly got any attention. And she's like, I don't care. I'm just doing this for fun because I like to do it. And I'm like, okay. Because the minute if it becomes an obsession, like it's
Yeah.
done, so it is hard. It's like you got to figure out, but I'm trying to get them to stay away from like Instagram and Facebook and she's in middle school, so she doesn't get to have them yet. So
Yeah. Well, it's like someone asked me, they're like, what's the point of your podcast? Are you talking about leadership? I'm like, no. Like, what are you talking about? I'm like, we're
yeah,
literally talking to people just to have a conversation about people around the world with their stories.
yeah,
Why- I'm like, because I'm truly fascinated by that, but also it's like I get to talk to my dad. I get to be with my dad and have
Yes.
conversations. And then like the fun is like afterwards, we're like, that's so cool. And just different stuff that we learn. And all of our guests are just different ages, different backgrounds, different experiences. And it's just like, it literally is just because it's fun.
I love it. And I think it will do awesome because I think people crave this more than we realize.
Well, thanks.
How do you two moms feel about some sort of course in school, even middle elementary school, regarding social media?
Oh, yeah. I think
Depends
it
on
would
what
be
the course,
amazing.
well, depends what it's about, right? Like I think
Well,
that
the
there's so
point, it's
many,
an issue that it's not being addressed at that level itself. At
Yeah.
home, it's often not discussed, or people are not informed enough. But the kids are going through this daily, discuss anything about the evils of it, how
The
it works.
detriment. Yeah.
I mean, I
You
do
write
I
something
think
today that lasts forever.
cyberbullying. They talk about cyberbullying. I think the problem is that like it's the person who's teaching it, right? So, and this is what I mean by that. So I do some classes for college interns, and I'm
Mhm.
always like, am I going to be cool enough to where they want to listen to me? You know? And I know that sounds like so dumb, right? But it's
No, I
like
get
it's true, right? It's about like the teacher that's teaching. Like you don't want to go to a fitness class from somebody who's not looking like they're in shape.
Yeah.
Talking to somebody in a social media course, you want someone to tell you, it's almost like they need to have somebody teach that course to where it really they learned a lesson from social media. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They were like,
Yeah.
this is take it from me, because if it's just someone like an adult coming in and being like, don't do like this, don't do like that, like, oh, what do you know?
Oh, no question.
Yeah. I think it'd be helpful to have something for like understanding how behind the scenes social media works and how algorithms work and how advertising works with all of it and how you're fed certain things, right? Like over and over and over, and how that can be a detriment to your mental health. I think it would be huge for kids to understand that at an early age because I feel like, I don't know about you, but I feel like this younger generation of kids, and I watch even my nieces who are in their early 20s, like they're awesome. Like they're not dating the jerks. They're not, doing the dumb stuff like that. I feel like I did because it's like they're learning so much more and they're understanding so much about the mental ramifications and like they'll even say like why would anyone ever smoke? But like in my generation no one said that. Like
Right.
so many people smoked it.
I
The
mean, we
detriment.
never did. We never
No, I never did.
did.
Never.
We have a very strict anti-lying policy on this podcast.
Yes, very strict. Yeah, don't ask my mom anything. I'm glad she's not here with me.
We're actually working on a slime project. When you lie, you'll be slime. But
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Like
You can't be
Nickelodeon.
on television. Yes.
But like
Oh,
you say that, and it's so interesting. So, like, in all the stuff as we're continuing down the path of AI, the fake
mhm.
stuff that is out there. Like, I remember there was a video that I saw, and it was like, it was late at night, like when I couldn't sleep, when I was doing the stupidest thing I could have done was like scrolling through, and I saw
Yes.
this video, which looked like a robot playing soccer. So I just sent it to my niece. I'm like, oh my God, look how funny this is. She's a huge soccer player. And she was like, Jamie, look at the feet. It's not a robot. It's it placed over. You can see the
Right.
I was like, oh, I didn't even pay attention to that. But think about like how often people don't really read articles. They just look at the headlines. They don't really, and everything, like I think we're at the cusp of really needing that education data in school because people are going to start to believe that the facts of what they read online are always true. And
Yes.
listen, I teach my daughter all the time, just because you Google it doesn't mean that it's true.
Exactly. Exactly. I am.
So that's the thing.
That's huge.
But there's a whole, like we said, that's a whole other conversation and we'll bring you back for our panel of like, let's talk about the evils of social media. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But there's also, like I said, again, I feel like I have been connected to you over the last 20 years, 26
Yes.
years, even not seeing each other because of social media.
Yes. I think there's a lot of good that can come with social media for sure because every time I've kind of been like, especially during election season, all of that, you're like, I don't ever want to look at social media again. But every time I've kind of thought of getting rid of it, I'm like, but there's so many people I'm connected to that like I wouldn't know what's going on in their life, like my friends in Florida, like friends that I met at college, all these people that I don't live in the same city with anymore. But I love seeing like you and like our friends, like when you get together and I'm like, oh, I love it. It makes my heart feel so happy. And so I'm really thankful for the connectedness you can find. And I think to your dad's point, like, teaching both sides, like here's the benefits, here's the negatives. Just like with anything in life, you're going to have to make these choices of how you're going to use something and try to use it to the best of your benefit rather than, to your detriment. And I think we're all guilty of like over scrolling or whatever, but I try to be mindful, and I try to help teach my kids that. And then,
we all have moments of weakness.
Yes, we do. Yeah.
Well, I love how you have taken the journey, the moments of weakness and the moments of greatness, and combined it all together and have really figured out a path forward. And I think it's just incredible. So thank you for coming on and sharing your story.
Yeah.
Telling us more about what's going on in your world. So
send Jaime a link of those weighted. I wish I brought a weighted blanket to the podcast today. You have one there?
I know.
Are you wearing one?
I have my weighted cape. This is like a weighted cape that sits on my chair, and when I get cold, I just like put it over my shoulders, and it kind of feels like a nice hug. And so it's just very it's very zen.
Could you model it for us?
Yes. Yes. I will say the cape is like not everybody's choice, not many people are wearing capes these days, but
I love that.
Is it magnetic in the front, magnetic closure?
Yeah. So it's really great for like adaptive wear. Like
absolutely.
Great. So and there's vests, like there's vests, and I sing its praises, especially for like a lot of people in the special needs community, their kids have a lot of sensory issues.
Sure.
So that is wonderful because it's easy. It doesn't feel restrictive. It feels safe to take on and off really quickly because you can't take your weighted blanket with you everywhere, right? So
that's why hugs feel so good.
Yes. The power of a hug is huge. So, but I will send you guys the link for sure. Our website is 30% off all month. So
I'm going to share that. We're not launching, so we'll talk about when this is going to be released.
Yeah.
Hopefully when it's done, maybe we'll include like a code there or something for anyone that listens to your podcast, that they can get this like weighted blanket. So no matter where life's turns and tricks and hills and whatever they go through, they can always know that they have that like hug with them from us, from you to them, or whatever you do.
Of course. Yeah, I will totally give you a code. You just let me know.
Well, Stephanie, thanks for letting us.
Great byline. You deserve a hug today.
My gosh, love it. I love it. I'll give you the commission if it goes viral.
No, that's first one's gratis.
Awesome. Thank you.
Well, Stephanie, I appreciate you so much. I hope that our paths cross in person again one day soon. But
yes, I will let you know if I'm that way.
Please do. And know that whether we're like here talking or whatever, I'm always thinking about you. Listen, you were part of like the foundational years of my life. And so I remember all of the fun things we did and stupid things we did that we won't talk about. And all the sleepovers and all like the fun stuff. So those are great memories. And
can we fade on going out like doing the dance like an Egyptian?
Yes, of course.
Like an Egyptian.
It literally came on the radio a couple weeks ago, and I was telling my daughter about the dance we made up and like how it's going to be on your podcast, and she's like, "No way!" It's just so fun. Full circle moments.
Yep, 6 degrees of separation. It's amazing. You never know. Never burn a bridge because you never want to know when you're going to meet that person again. And Jenny Hong, if you're listening, we're both.
I know. Please find us. We love you so much. Such good memories.
Right. Thank you, Stephanie. We appreciate you. You'll stay on. We're going to talk with you behind the scenes. We're going to stop recording here. But listener, we will see you next time. And that's her story. How cool was that?
Well, she's so upbeat. She's come through a great deal of trauma herself. It's just that it affects everybody. It's getting help, getting the right help is so critically important. Someone to talk to, because I'm sure depression is all tied up into the same ball of what's going on. You've got your job, your wealth management, which is very stressful. Coming home to new babies, new marriage. It's just too much for some people. It's crazy.
I think it's always funny when someone's like, our marriage isn't working, so we're going to have a baby to see if that helps us.
Off the charts, just too big stressor, too much.
But I think I love her authenticity. I always have. She's always been just this like ray of sunshine from when she was 7 years old till now. And, I don't know that I would be able to cope the way she has. I think it's really incredible and inspirational. And I'm so glad we had the chance to talk with her.
No, it was great. Very nice.
Well, Dad, go create some of your story today and we'll catch up next time.
Until next time, it's us signing off.
Okay, that worked.
Hey, thank you for tuning into today's What's Your Story podcast.
To learn more or share your story, go to jamiemarco.com. That's www.jaimemarco.com. And we will see you next time.